All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what it is. It's time for Top of the Morning here on the Urban Conservative. Let's go.
Hey, buddy, do you like NASCAR? Do you like a tribe called Quest? Well, you gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Do you like manwich and nachos? Well, then you'd love the Urban Conservative.
Do you like guns? Do you like butter? Well, you're gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Yo, what's good, son? You like pit bulls, say? You like solving Sudoku puzzles? Then you gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Hey, buddy, if your car making a sound like this, you might want to get you some power steering fluid and check out the Urban Conservative podcast.
Are you repulsed by the idea of drag queen story time at your local library, but enjoy Carol Baskin TikTok memes? Then you would enjoy the Urban Conservative.
Do you want to slap your boss and then go home and make yourself some golden brown pancakes covered in butter and freshly made warm boysenberry syrup? Then you'll love the Urban Conservative.
You're a little over Cardi B, and you're repulsed by the thought of Hogmaw. Check out the Urban Conservative. You ready? If you think the earth is flat and always on that weird side of YouTube, check out the Urban Conservative. They'll set you straight.
If you're in a chasing dopey and you love salad fish and the festival, check out the Urban Conservative.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what it is. It's time for Top of the Morning here on the Urban Conservative. Yours truly, Abdul Ali, here with you on a wonderful Monday morning. If you are not doing so already, you can follow us over on Twitter at TU Conservative. Also find us any and everywhere at the Urban Conservative or TUC Twins. TUconservative.com is the website to support what we do and our mission of sharing conservative values and principles, as well as the benefits of conservative policies to urban communities across this great nation of ours. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, exciting times, very interesting things happening across the country each and every Monday through Friday. You can join us for the best 30-minute morning show on the internet, and every Monday night at 8 p.m. right here for the Urban Conservative Podcast. You can also find the podcast any and everywhere you listen to your podcast. As always, jump in the comments, let us know where you're watching and or listening from, or if there's a subject you want us to cover here on Top of the Morning or on the Urban Conservative Podcast, let us know and we will do that. First thing first this morning, everybody's been hearing about these drones that are flying over New Jersey and over New York, and Mayorkas is talking about it. He went on a news show and was talking about it. I think what's interesting is to hear Alejandro Mayorkas talk about what's happening. We're going to take a listen to that real quick. But do you buy what he's talking about? Is this something that do you have a lot of confidence in what Mayorkas is talking about as he went on the news to talk about this drone situation? We're also going to take a listen to what Chris Christie had to say about it before we talk more about it. So let's listen to DHS Secretary Mayorkas on these not reported aerial sightings, not supposed, but actual sightings of drones. Let's take a listen.
George, and thank you very much for having me. There's no question that people are seeing drones, and I want to assure the American public that we in the federal government have deployed additional resources, personnel, technology to assist the New Jersey State Police in addressing the drone sightings. Some of those drone sightings are, in fact, drones. Some are manned aircraft that are commonly mistaken for drones, and we do see duplicative reporting. But there's no question that drones are being sighted. Let me set the record straight here, George. There are thousands of drones flown every day in the United States. Recreational drones, commercial drones. That is the reality. And in September of 2023, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, changed the rules so that drones could fly at night. And that may be one of the reasons why now people are seeing more drones than they did before, especially from dawn to dusk. And so that is the reality. But I want to assure the American public that we are on it. We are working in close coordination with state and local authorities. And it is critical, as we all have said for a number of years, that we need from Congress additional authorities to address the drone situation.
Okay, I just got to say this. Is it just me, or is this dude's eyebrows really weird? I know this doesn't have anything to do with the drones, but is it me, or is this guy's eyebrows really off? Now, here's the other thing. I don't know that these are not foreign entities that are flying off the coast. We saw these balloons flying some time back, and we still don't, like, we just forgot about that. We saw the balloons flying, but what about these drones? Now, come to find out, Chuck Schumer's requesting a drone detection system for New York and New Jersey, as these devices are littering the sky. And New York Governor Kathy Hochul is urging federal lawmakers to pass a measure that would give states more authority to deal with the drones directly. Schumer made the request to the Department of Homeland Defense on Sunday, 2 days after New York Stewart International Airport closed because of multiple drone sightings near it. He pushed for the Robin radar systems in their 360-degree technology, which he said has a better chance of detecting the drones compared with the linear system. The unidentified drones have been spotted across the Northeast, a significant number above New Jersey. Now, the idea here, and I'm not saying that this is the case, right? I'm not saying this is 100% the case, but if these are foreign entities, which Mayorkas is saying it is not, we don't know, that you can't say it's not if you don't know. If these are foreign entities that are flying over our coastline, assessing people's life patterns, who's to know what these things actually are? And the fact of the matter is, the federal response from somebody, the federal response is lacking, just like it's lacking in the Hurricane Helene situation. Chris Christie, former New Jersey governor, also weighed in on this a couple of days ago. Let's take a listen to what Chris Christie had to say.
We need more authority. But to not say that this is not, that to say this is not unusual activity, it's just wrong. I lived in New Jersey my whole life. This is the first time that I've noticed drones over my house. And I was in a restaurant in Monmouth County on Friday night, had people at the bar coming up to me and saying, Governor Murphy won't tell me anything. The president won't tell me anything. Do you know? Like, well, I don't know, but I will tell you.
So for Mayorkas to say this is not unusual activity, and to hear Chris Christie say, as someone who's lived in New Jersey his entire life, that this is indeed not normal. He's never noticed drones over his house before. So I think that this is a potentially a national security issue. Could be. I don't know. Not saying it for sure because I don't know what they are. But for Mayorkas to say that this is not unusual activity is a little weird to me. Now, let's also consider on the tail end of talking about this drone thing that we don't even really know who's running our government. It clearly is not Joe Biden. Joe Biden is all but a puppet at this point, lame duck puppet. So there's no telling that what's really happening in this situation. So you've got Hochul wanting support, you've got Christie wanting support, you've got Chuck Schumer requesting the 360 radar system. People all over New Jersey and New York are seeing this. Never happened before. If it's the case that since the FAA released the restrictions on night flying, how come we haven't been seeing these drones at all up until now with just a few weeks left in the Biden administration's term? That would be my number one question, ladies and gentlemen. Why all of a sudden are we seeing these now with just a little bit of time left in the Biden administration's term? Y'all don't go anywhere. We will be right back here on Top of the Morning. Got some interesting developments in that Duke Lacrosse player situation, so y'all don't go nowhere. Quick commercial break right here on Top of the Morning. We'll be right back.
This season of The Urban Conservative is brought to you by Homium, helping to build generational wealth for historically disadvantaged groups, low-income households, and first-time homebuyers. Homium is helping to bridge the affordability gap for home ownership in your community. Visit homium.io to find out more.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are back on top of the morning here on the Urban Conservative. Now, we got to talk about this because this, I think, is very, very important. This idea, there's this whole Me Too movement that came out some years back. And, people are always talking about we have to support all victims, right? And I agree with that. When somebody's been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, or when things are more than obvious that somebody, and more than obvious, take that with a grain of salt. But this lady here is a lady named Crystal Mangum. Okay, Crystal Mangum was convicted of offing her boyfriend, blames police prejudice. She claimed that she was convicted of the offing someone because of the previous ties to the Duke University lacrosse team SA scandal. So she is serving time in prison right now for this particular crime that she committed, but she's also the one that accused the Duke lacrosse players of SA and the great word in 2006. And now she's coming out to say that she completely lied about the encounter. Her podcast interview took place at the North Carolina Women's Prison, where she's serving time for the 2013 second-degree offing conviction. She said she made up the story for validation. She went on to say that the players didn't deserve that and hopes that the three men will forgive her. The admission literally comes 20 years after she was allegedly, when she said she was SA'd by the Duke lacrosse players. Now, the fact of the matter is, this lady went on to ruin those guys' lives. Accusations like this, they're not victimless allegations, because we live in the Me Too society. We live in a cancel culture. We live at a time where they want us to believe what somebody accuses. Look at the situation right now going on with Jay-Z. There's no evidence. Like, at this point, 25 years later, 20, 30 years later, you want to say that this happened, and we're supposed to just automatically believe people that make these type of claims. And it's absolutely sad to see that someone like this can make a claim and it would destroy the lives of people who are clearly innocent. So we've got, at this point, the idea is, what happens now that we know this is a lie? Does she get more time? Did they bring up, not that these guys can sue her and get any money. She's serving time, like I said, for an offing charge. So, and this is the idea here. So when Crystal Mangum's son witnessed his battered mother come rushing into their Durham, North Carolina home in 2011, the boy called the police for help. Her mother, 32, told them that she had been with her boyfriend, 46-year-old Reginald Day, and after getting in a fight, Mangum stabbed him. She kept yelling he was beating her. R.J. Ramsier, Mangum's son, said on Snapped Behind the Bars, that came on oxygen. She said she did it in self-defense, but what ended up happening is that they found out that was not it, that this lady was on the offensive. So now she's doing time for that. But again, to come out now and say, I hope that those guys will forgive me, after literally destroying people's lives, the amount of scrutiny those guys had to go through, the amount of probably death threats and hatred they had to endure, over these charges. I'm going to pull something real quick. Yeah, and I agree with this story here on The Spectator. The Duke Lacrosse case should have been a warning about the Me Too. Instead, it only deepened the desire to put men in the guillotine. These guys accused of this. She admitted Thursday she lied. It's curious that she finally decided to state the obvious after years of standing by her accusation. Who is currently serving time for a second-degree offing, gave an interview that suggested her moment of truth might be tied to a conversion to Christianity. Isn't it interesting? And I'm saying this, take this with a grain of salt. I know a lot of people that listen to us are Christian, but listen, isn't it interesting how people always want to convert after they've done the worst things? I'm not saying that true conversion doesn't happen. I'm not saying that you can't be forgiven for your sins, but what I'm saying is it's always convenient. It's just hyper convenient. So the Duke Lacrosse case captured the nation's attention and news coverage was inescapable. The author of this piece was in the 6th grade when they watched it on TV. The case became a stand-in for brewing racial and class tensions in America. I remember how people actually were saying this was a white versus black thing. And I agree with this piece here where he says feminists and civil rights grifters squeeze all the juice they could out of the story and march right on to the next outrage with zero regard for the damage they cause. They rushed headlong into the retracted 2014 University of Virginia case and the Rolling Stone in a decade after Duke, every Me Too accusation they could get their hands on. This idea, this Me Too movement, destroyed a lot of men. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Decades after, Crystal Magnum admitting that what she talked about, the accusation of the Duke players, was an absolute fabrication. But we all knew that. We're going to take one more quick commercial break here on Top of the Morning here on the Urban Conservative. We're going to come back and we got to talk about Kamala Harris. Y'all don't go nowhere. We'll be right back here on Top of the Morning on the Urban Conservative.
This season of the Urban Conservative Podcast is brought to you by Newton for Senate, working to improve education, reduce taxes, and keep North Carolina #1 for business. Find out more at newtonforsenate.com. This episode of the Urban Conservative has also been sponsored by Case Technology Consulting. Help your business get value out of its data and become more efficient and streamlined. Case Technology Consulting. Check out the link in the description.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're back here on Top of the Morning here on the Urban Conservative. We really appreciate each and every one of y'all that rock with us. Again, the website to support what we do here on the Urban Conservative is tuconservative.com, tuconservative.com. That's how you can support what we do here at the Urban Conservative. So let's get to this last story of the morning. And guys, I got to tell you, folks, this is, I thought we would be at the end of the Kamala Harris saga. I thought it would be a wrap. I thought she was going to tiptoe quietly into the evening and kind of wrap it up, but I don't think that is what is going to happen. There is, I think, no way to say it other than she is a terrible candidate. Now, you might make the argument, oh, she wasn't such a terrible candidate when she won her, Attorney General of California race. She wasn't a terrible candidate when she ran for Senate in California. Well, that's California. You could be a terrible candidate in California and win. However, there is some talk more than a month removed from her election loss that her team believes she should either run for president again in 2028 or shift ambitions to become California's governor in 2026. All right. Now, there's one thing that's for certain is she can't do both of those things. You can't run for governor and then run for president again. That's just not going to work. Okay. Because if you win governor, you're going to have to step down and all of that. I don't think there's a universe that exists in the Marvel multiverse that Kamala Harris can run for president again. I don't think that is reality, ladies and gentlemen. I don't see that is even possible. I think the American people are done with Kamala Harris. Now, California is a different situation. There are, we'll call it a special type of folk out in California, gluttons for punishment even, when you look at how they vote in California. But this idea that Kamala Harris could run for president again, I think is completely off the table. Now, the argument that some are making is her last official act as vice president and president of the United States Senate is going to be, which has the sting. I'm telling you, it has to sting like alcohol and salt in a wound, is certifying the election of Donald J. Trump as the 47th president. That would be her last official act. And so many people on the left are saying that can't be the last thing she does. That'll be the end of her legacy, the legacy of her certifying Trump's win. Now, the problem that you have here, right, is you spent $1 billion. You ended up 20 million in the hole. How does someone like this, how in the wide world of American politics, are there any people with firing neurons in their brain that with a thinking brain, how does anybody support the idea of Kamala Harris running for anything, anywhere, ever again? How does that happen? I don't know. I don't think it makes sense. But the idea that she could become California's governor, now, let's be honest, her record as Attorney General in California was terrible. Her record as vice president is terrible. Her record as a presidential candidate is terrible, horrible, no good, very bad. So how do you make the leap from a failed presidential candidate, terrible vice president, wasn't able to get one single solitary vote when you did run in a presidential primary? What is going on in people's minds where they think that this woman could potentially run for president and have to deal with the scrutiny of an actual primary? I think that is a no-go. Now, running for California governor is a different ballgame. I just think that's an entirely different ballgame. Gavin Newsom, I think, may be eyeing a run for president in 28. You also got to factor in North Carolina's former governor, now about to be former governor, Roy Cooper, may potentially run for U.S. Senate or maybe running for president in 28. You don't know. But the idea that Kamala Harris could pull off a run for U.S. president again in 2028 is absolutely not true. Now, a win in the 2026 California gubernatorial race would mean that she would have to launch a presidential bid a few weeks, maybe months after being sworn in. And that's just terrible optics. I don't think that that's feasible. It doesn't sound realistic. Now, leaving a run for governor on the table is a little riskier. Trump is unable to run for a third term. Democrats are viewing 2028 as a fresh slate in terms of candidates. Names like Josh Shapiro out of Pennsylvania, Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock, and John Ossoff, Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, and current California Governor Gavin Newsom are among the names being floated. What's going to be a very crowded Democrat field in 2028. Now, the thing that you have to consider is the Democrats, as of right now, have not learned their lesson. They haven't learned their lesson, folks. They're still doing the gaslighting. They're still doing the racism. They're still doing what they do the best. And that's why you see MSNBC, CNN, their ratings are in the tank. That's why you also see people like Eric Adams jumping on board with Trump. That's why you're starting to see some Democrats not afraid to come to the middle and have a little common sense and recognize that the radical wokeism is not going to work for Democrats. The American people, by electing Trump this cycle, have said that the radical wokeism ain't it. And Kamala Harris was by far the left of Bernie Sanders, the most radical senator, according to some, that has ever been in the Senate, was a radical progressive presidential candidate. And I don't think she has a chance at president ever. Just that would be a bad move. Stay in California where your extremism works. Just stay there. So let us know what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Jump in the comments. Let us know what you think. Does Kamala Harris have an opportunity to win president in 2028? Does she run for governor? What do you think? Let us know. Jump in the comments. As always, you can follow us everywhere on social media at The Urban Conservative over on Rumble. Find us anywhere at TUC Twins. TUconservative.com is the website. Make sure you join us tonight live right here on The Urban Conservative for The Urban Conservative podcast. From my twin brother, Raheem Architect Soto, I am Abdul Ali. This has been Top of the Morning here on The Urban Conservative. Peace and love, y'all.